What's going on, guys? It's Hannah here today, and right now I have a hitting tips video for you guys for MLB The Show 21. Now, for most of the season, I have been sitting at number 1 in the season, but within these past couple days, Weens and Rookie have overtaken me, and I'm sitting at 3rd right now. But we have been number 1, like I said, for most of the season. We've been dominating our opponents for the most part. I believe I'm on a 26-game winning streak, and I've gained about 200 points in a row without dropping any in that span. Now, I have a lot of people that come into my Twitch chat and they ask a ton of questions like, hey, you're a really good hitter, you're a good pitcher. How do you remain consistent at the plate, and how are you able to win so many games in a row without taking a loss? So I decided to make a video for you guys. I made one last year and I figured, I'm doing really well this year. Why not make one? So the first thing that I want to go over is the settings. I know there's a lot of new players this year with the game going cross-platform, with it being on Xbox. And who knows, you might be a new PlayStation guy picking up the game for the first time. So what I do is, obviously my hitting difficulty is on Legend because that's what I play at. I'm going to use Strike Zone as my hitting view, or you can use Strike Zone High. I think those are the two best hitting cameras in the game, and they're the two most used as well. So if you don't like Strike Zone, try giving Strike Zone High a go, and maybe that'll be the one for you. In play view offense, that's just personal preference. I keep it on dynamic. I know some people use high as well, but the main thing here is for hitting interface, you want to use zone hitting. I know zone might be a little intimidating at first for some new players, but you definitely want to use zone because it's going to reward you the most over, I think it's, what's it called here, directional. I forgot the name of it for a second. So you definitely want to use zone. And now all of this here, your plate coverage indicator, center, inner, and outer, all that is going to be personal preference. But input type, you definitely want to use buttons. I know some people ask me if I use analog for that. I just use buttons. I think that's what everybody uses here. But you definitely want to find a PCI that you're comfortable with. Now, there's going to be, for one person, say they might just like circles only. Some people like using outer and center with their inner off. For me, I've played MLB The Show for a while, and in the old games, I always used wedge before we had the new PCI changes last year. And last year I used circles or diamonds only, but this year, with the pitches just having a lot of break, the PCI seems a little bit smaller this year, so I've been rocking with wedge on, along with circles, and I just felt like I've been hitting better with it because the circles are so small this year. Same with diamonds. I just felt like at the beginning of the year here that I couldn't square anything up, so having that PCI look just a little bit bigger has helped me with some PCI placement. But what I've been rocking with is circles for PCI center, wedge for the inner. PCI color, I've used black, and I have it at 80% transparency. I know black might be an interesting choice here to use for a PCI color. I know a lot of people use yellow. They use, I think it's cayenne or white. But the reason why I switched to black is because at the beginning of the year, when I first started playing on Legend, I noticed that I was staring at my PCI a lot, and you guys might notice that too. But you got to trust your PCI placement, and I don't want something that's really bright and standing out to me when I'm trying to track a pitch that's breaking a lot. So when I put it to black, I notice that I don't stare at the PCI as much, and I'm looking at that pitcher's release point, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here. And if you notice that, say if you're rocking with yellow or white and you're staring at the PCI, try giving mine a go. Try using black at 80%. You can still see it, but it's something that you're not going to stare at too much. Now, your best friend here, becoming a better hitter in the game, is utilizing custom practice to your advantage. So I'm going to hop in here. What I usually do is I hit against the Beast, and I'm going to hit as the ground breakers. You can choose any stadium you want. I usually just warm up in a custom stadium, my own here. It doesn't really matter too much. But once we get into custom practice here, I'm going to show you what I usually do to warm up. So we're here in custom practice, and what I usually do is I warm up against Pedro Martinez. There's a bunch of different rosters out there that you can download, but what I usually do, I'm just comfortable warming up against Pedro. He has a sinker, he has a slider. It's not even a bad idea to warm up against somebody that has a sinker and a cutter, because that's what you're going to see a lot in online play. So if you want to warm up against Mike Hampton here, that's not even a bad option, because Mike Hampton, he's thrown a lot in the game. Very good pitcher. Doesn't throw the hardest, but he's going to dot a lot. So he could be a good choice for you. But I always warm up against Pedro Martinez because it's just someone that I'm comfortable. It's just something that I'm used to. He has that sinker. He has a slider, a fastball curve, changeup. Pretty decent pitch mix. It's just something that's been working for me. And that's the reason why I've been starting with him. I usually do the team practice. So I go through the lineup as if I'm going through a game. And I kind of treat it as if I'm in a ranked seasons game. So I'm being patient, I'm trying to hit good pitches, and I'm not just kind of hacking away. But if you guys want to work on something, say if you're struggling, say righty, you're struggling with sinkers inside, you can tailor custom practice to your advantage there. So you can put all inside pitches here, or all inside zones, excuse me, and say you want to bat with, let's do Ernie Banks, because Ernie Banks could be a card that a lot of you might have in your lineup that you might struggle a little bit righty. So I'm going to put the sinker on here. I'm going to practice with Ernie Banks, and all Pedro's going to throw me here is sinkers inside. So if you want to work on something that say you're maybe struggling with, that's something that you can put on there and you can work on it. And when you hop into a ranked game, you might be hitting a little bit better against it. But the reason why I don't like doing this too much personally is because if I pick a sinker, right, if I only want to focus on one pitch, when I'm in batting practice, I know what pitch is coming before he even throws it. And that's not going to help me in ranked seasons because I'm obviously not going to know what pitch my opponent's throwing. So this is why I usually just do team practice here. I do offense. I start off with Jackie Robinson and I go through the lineup and I treat it as if I'm playing a ranked seasons game. So what I'm doing here is I usually start with my PCI. I'm going to take that first pitch there. I don't know if you guys can see it too much. I kind of pull down and in just slightly here with Jackie. So just that slight movement, it creates that little bit of tension so that I can hit these in-between pitches that aren't quite exactly on the black. But, okay, we're just going to ignore that swing. But I kind of pull down and in with righties and low and away with lefties. It's just something that I'm comfortable with. And it allows me to hit those in-between pitches just a little bit better so that I'm not just being stagnant with the PCI and then trying to react. Because when I do that, I'm going to completely miss pitches that are in that in-between part of the zone. And when you create that tension, you're going to be able to hit those tough ones that aren't quite on the black, but they're not quite exactly down the middle either. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking pitches. I'm looking at the pitcher's release point. That's another question that a lot of people have for me is where am I looking to pick up the ball? And just like real life baseball, man, you're just looking for that pitcher's release point. You're trying to read the ball out of the hand. The more you practice, the easier that's going to become for you guys. So when I'm looking at Pedro here, he's coming right now. Like, you got to get that timing down. Once you get that down, it makes it so much easier to time up a pitch. Now, obviously, you're not going to hit everything that's thrown at you. So the next thing I wanted to pick into is you want to get in a good hitters count. So I know last year, and it's very tempting, even when you're on these lower difficulties, to just sit there and want to hit every single pitch that's thrown at you. And it's just not possible this year. But the way that pitches move, the way that just I don't even really know how to explain it. It's just a lot harder to hit this year. So especially with pinpoint pitching, people are going to be, throwing pitches on the corner. They're going to be dotting your life away. And sometimes you just have to tip your cap and say, hey, that was a good pitch. Let's go attack the next one. So early on, when I'm doing the first inning, I'm taking pitches. I want to see what my pitchers are throwing, what pitches they're throwing and what counts, trying to pick up on a tendency. Are they throwing me a lot of fastballs the first pitch? Because if they are, I'm going to try to jump on one later in the game. Are they throwing you sinkers inside a lot? Are they throwing cutters away a lot? Are they throwing 0-1 sinkers a lot? Are they throwing 0-1 cutters a lot? You got to pick up and try to keep that mental track. Say you lead off the game and you swing at you take a 0-1 cutter low and away for a strike, right? Then that third batter comes up. You're in an 0-1 count. He throws you another cutter low and away. So I'm saying in my head, okay, that's 2 times this inning that he's thrown that same pitch in that same location. So I'm going to try to look for that next inning and see if I can pick up on it. It's just little things like that where a lot of it's just a mental game and trying to outsmart your opponent and just pick up on some stuff that they're doing as well. So it's not, a lot of it's just not allowed. Some people are just going to say, see ball, hit ball. But it's a little bit more than that. You got to try to play a mental game, try to pick up on those little tendencies, and I promise you it's going to help you out in ranked seasons. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about here is a lot of people tell me, I can't catch up to the fastball, but I'm way too early on sliders or curveballs or changeups. My main tip for you guys, for anybody to be good in MLB The Show, you got to be able to hit the fast stuff. You got to hit the heat and react to the junk. It's going to be one of those things because if you can't hit the fastball, your opponent's going to punish you with the heat all game because if you can't catch up to it, they're not going to throw you anything off speed. So your number one priority is you have to be able to hit the heat. You have to hit the fastballs. You have to hit the sinkers. You just have to practice them. I promise you, get into custom practice. And then once custom practice starts to get a little bit easier, if you hop into ranked and say you're late on fastballs and sinkers still, even after doing custom practice, you can go into sliders, turn up the fastball velocity, turn up the off speed velocity. Pitchers are going to come in a little bit faster. And once you get that down, when you hop into ranked seasons, it's going to feel so much slower to you. You're going to be able to hit the ball so much better because you practice on something that's faster than what you're going to see. I promise you it's going to pay off. This year, I haven't turned the sliders up because I've been early in ranked seasons the way it is, so I don't want to make my swing even quicker. So I haven't been doing that. I've just been hopping into custom practice on a normal difficulty here, not touching the sliders, any of that stuff. But if I notice, say, later in the year, and I'm struggling catching up to sinkers and fastballs, or if I'm just in a slump, I'm going to screw with those sliders a little bit, bump up that velocity so that when I hop into ranked, I'm ready to go and I get that timing back. But the last tip that I have for you guys, honestly, is just be patient. I know it's so tempting to go out there and, like I said, swing first pitch every time, but be patient, work the count, get into good hitters counts like 2-0, 3-0, see what they're throwing you, and then when they throw you a mistake, you got to capitalize on it. And I promise you, like I've said 5 times this video, custom practice is your best friend if you're trying to get better at the game or if you're new to the game. Getting just like anything in life, man, whether it's MLB The Show, another video game, or just anything in life in general. The more that you practice something, the better that you're going to become, and that translates over here to MLB The Show as well. So if you guys have any other questions, make sure you drop a sub down here below. Make sure you drop a follow over on my Twitch. I will link that below as well. I think we're at 2.3K followers on Twitch right now, so we've been going off like crazy. I'll link my other socials down below, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I try to do my best here with a hitting tips video for you guys. I know, as one of the best players in the world, people are going to be looking for tips, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a sub, and I'll see you guys next time.